Hello, my name is Benji and welcome to Dice vs Cards. Today we go back to the 41st millennium to find out the best way to choose an army. Because you're just getting into the hobby or you're looking to expand your suite of choices. We'll cover some background fluff and playstyle for each and centre the discussion around the start collecting sets Games Workshop offer. Today's video will go through your options for the many Xenos races found throughout the known galaxy. What we'll be doing to make this more digestible is breaking down the factions into 5 categories, but going from those with the most sub-factions to those with the least. That way the waves will get less and less choppy and complicated as we go through. Also, when we look at these start collecting boxes, we're going to give them marks in terms of value for power. In other words, how much power or points are you getting for your buck in an actual game. But we're also going to mark for value in terms of model count and variety in order to give a view of how someone more interested in painting would look at the box. And we'll also be giving an overall value for money mark. In other words, how much would this have cost you if you'd bought the models separately? Let's start the festivities with Space Elves, once known simply as Eldar and Dark Eldar. GW have since spread their copyright-laden wings and given us 4 Eldari factions to choose from. We're going to start with the aforementioned Eldar, who have been rechristened, if you want to call it that, to Craftworld's Eldari. The most vanilla of their brethren, but also most emblematic of what the Eldari were before their hubris and arrogance led to the whole race being brought to their knees when they unwittingly summoned the 4th and final Chaos God, Slaanesh. In terms of playstyle, they're certainly the most well-rounded Eldari, a highly mobile race that give you the ability to adapt your playstyle to your needs. That being said, the Eldar will always favour heavy firepower, shooty than down and dirty hand-to-hand combat. The Craftworld Start Collecting box comes with 1 HQ, 1 Elite and 2 heavy support choices. A slightly unusual way to start a collection, but nonetheless warranting an A for how much power you're getting to the table, a slight blemish of a C for value for painters, but an exemplary A for overall value for money. If Craftworld's Eldari represent the light, then the Drukhari wave the banner for the dark. A faction that have turned their back on any form of virtuosity and lean their tastes more towards the malicious and sadistic. They extensively use interdimensional webways that allow them to travel swiftly and safely across the known galaxy, indulging in piracy and enslavement. What that translates to in terms of playstyle is an even swifter set of units than the Craftworld Eldar, at the expense of some durability. Their start collecting box comes packed with 1 HQ, 1 troop, 1 fast attack and 1 dedicated transport choice, representative of that excellent mobility. It unfortunately warrants only a C though for value for power, but things brighten with a deserved A for value and variety of models. Typifying the up and down nature of the box, it only collects however a C for overall value for money. The 2 remaining Eldari factions do not rock their own start collecting boxes, but still have a healthy selection of models to choose from. The Yunari share a great deal in common in terms of available models with both the Craftworld Eldar and Drukhari, but differ from them both thematically in that they are the religious offshoot of what was the once mighty Eldari Empire. Their singular goal being to reawaken the Eldari god of the dead, Ynid, who they believe can help them defeat Slaanesh and return the Empire to its former glory. If this all sounds fan-dabby-dozy to you, then expect to be picking up units like the Triumvirate of the Ynid, Howling Banshees and Witches, with only the Triumvirate being exclusive to Yunari forces. The others are then culled from Craftworlds and Drukhari, meaning their playstyle is a mishmash of everything we've talked about with the Eldari so far. Finally, we have the enigmatic Harlequins, the keepers of the Black Library, an extensive repository of forbidden lore documenting their roots and understanding of sorcery, and what the Eldari know of their ancient enemy, the Chaos Gods. On the battlefield, they're the most melee-centric of the Eldari factions, So if you love the theme and vibe of Space Elves but want to get up close and personal, then these might be a good shout. Although Harlequins have a small number of available models, you can stretch them to be one force, or just as likely you'll combine them with other Eldari factions. Nonetheless, the Shadow Seer, the Harlequin troop, and Weavers of the Sky, Star and Void variety are their signature units, each bringing something that little bit different to the table. That leaves us saying goodbye to the Eldar, but hello to the similarly lithe and dexterous, but not so similar looking Tyranids. An insectoid race led by a central hive mind that is spreading its way across the known galaxy, invading inhabited worlds and satiating their endless hunger by devouring all alien races that are unlucky enough to find themselves in their path. In terms of playstyle, the Nids are most definitely a swarm army, lending weight of numbers to an overtly hand-to-hand or claw-to-claw style of play. That's not to say they don't have big hulking units, quite the contrary, but these are definitely the faction for you if you want straight up monsters on the tabletop. Their start collecting box comprises of 1 HQ, 1 troop and 1 heavy support choice, resulting in a volatile combination of marks, starting with a disappointing D for value for power, a slightly improved C for value for painters, and continuing the trend of improvement, a somewhat thankful B for overall value for bunny. The overwhelming and somewhat terrifying nature of the Tyranid threat has directly and indirectly caused the formation of the Genestealer Cult, a Xenos worshipping secret society that are quickly gaining influence throughout Imperial controlled worlds. Their emissaries and cultists take control from the inside out and project psychic emanations to the Tyranid's hive mind, that subsequently send an invasion force to consume the planet and its inhabitants, including those cultists that sowed the seeds of the planet's destruction. In terms of playstyle, they revel in sneak attacks and ambush, doing well in close quarters and contained environments. Their start collecting box includes 1 HQ, 2 troop and 1 fast attack choice, which is collectively a nice way to start an army and warrants a pretty dire D in terms of how much power you get to the table for your money, but a much better B for value for painters and a similarly solid B for overall value for money. Now we transition to 3 more singular but cohesive factions. First up in alphabetical order are the Necrons, the 41st millennium's version of the undead. Once an all-powerful race, much like the Eldari, they have in recent times started to reawaken from an eternal slumber, looking to regain what was once theirs through any means possible. They've retained a great deal of their technological advancement, using it to its full capability. Their remorseless and stoic nature makes for a formidable foe to anyone that stands against them. In terms of playstyle, their technology points them in the direction of being more of a shooty army. The difference being that unlike other shoot-first factions, they're a great deal more durable, carrying an army-wide ability to heal and even reanimate themselves, meaning the only way you can truly defeat a Necron host is to completely destroy their units one by one. Whilst they don't have their own start collecting box, they do form one of the 2 armies you can find in 9th edition's current suite of core starter sets, which you can find out more about in a video I already made on this topic, a link to which I'll put in the description below. For our penultimate faction, we're going mean and green with the delightfully anarchic and destructive Orcs. A primitive race on the surface, but what they lack in intelligence, they're more than capable of making up for in cunning and straight up pilfering and looting from others, all the while putting their own stamp on these ill-begotten treasures. What this translates to in terms of playstyle is some gloriously bonkers swarm tactics. If you're not too fussed about an unpredictable outcome, then Orcs might be the right riot for you at the table, favouring strength in numbers and a mighty arm in close combat. They're capable of letting fly with plenty of daka, but relying on the shooting accuracy of Orcs is not a foolproof way to achieve success at the table. Their start collecting box completely eschews the need for any HQ, although you'll need to pick one of those up separately, but does come with 1 troop, 2 elite and 1 heavy support choice, all adding up to a highly respectable B for value for power, a blinding A for value for painters, and a B for overall value for money. A welcome set of results considering you'll need to bring a fair few models to the table with an Orc army. And so here we are at the end of the road, with the youngest of the races we talked about so far, the Tau Empire, whose technology belies their relative youth. They are also, it needs to be said, the most inclusive and even-handed of the playable races showcased in Warhammer 40K, and that includes the somewhat overbearing and oppressive Imperium of Man. That's not to say they're the good guys in the grimdark future, but there are definitely some rays of sunshine to be found here. They've adopted a caste society where each section is responsible for a specific function. And what that translates to in terms of playstyle is a very much at arm's length, we're going to shoot you to death army. All of their tactics, equipment and stat line are pursuant to the goal of decimating their opponents under a hail of artillery and gunfire. Their start collecting box comes equipped with 1 HQ, 1 troop and 1 elite choice, about as startery as it gets and deserving of a distinctly average C when it comes to how much power you're getting to the table. A somewhat improved B in terms of the variety and volume of models you'll get to paint, and finally a similarly uninspiring C in terms of overall value for money. In other words, so meh. So there you have it, your plethora of choice when it comes to picking a Xenos army. We hope you've found this helpful in pointing you in the right direction, and we do hope you've enjoyed the series as a whole. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more of this type of content. However, that's it from me. I'll see you next time.